Sigma males are a rare and mysterious breed of man, often misunderstood and underestimated. They possess the qualities of both alpha and beta males, making them independent and unconventional in their unique way. Although they are intelligent and capable, many people often describe them as arrogant or even weird. This label is usually based on their refusal to conform to social expectations, which is why they are sometimes seen as outsiders. They have a mysterious aura about them that can be both intimidating and captivating, depending on how you perceive them. However, despite their complexity, there are some common things that they simply can't stand. From being micromanaged to being forced into conformity, here are 12 things Sigma males absolutely hate. 1. Incompetent power holders. Very few things can get a Sigma male angrier than a boss or authority figure who appears incompetent or unfair. This type of person is often held up as a role model, yet they have no idea what they are doing. It's like a game of playing pretend, with the Sigma man being expected to behave in a certain way despite the incompetence of those in power. These people not only lack the necessary skills or knowledge to do their job properly, but they also rely on their position to get away with it. Being incompetent and in charge can create a lot of frustration, especially when it affects other people's lives. Sigma males won't take kindly to such behavior, as they prefer to see leaders who can be held accountable for their actions. They have an innate sense of justice and will always defend those taken advantage of. No one will follow a leader who lacks competence and integrity, as these are the foundation of trust. Incompetent power holders only create chaos and confusion, which Sigma men absolutely hate. 2. Complimenting them just to get on their good side. Fake compliments can be insulting as they imply that the other person is not smart enough to recognize the game being played. It's a subtle form of disrespect, and Sigma males can't stand it. They are highly perceptive and can easily detect when someone is trying to flatter them to get something in return. This often backfires, as they become more distant and defensive when such attempts are made. Trying to win them over with fake compliments or praises only sets you further away in their eyes. It's like a game of manipulation, one that Sigma will always spot and refuse to be a part of. Although they appreciate genuine compliments, they will be able to tell when someone is just trying to get on their good side. This is also a form of manipulation, a subtle technique used to control a future outcome. While many people fall for it, Sigma immediately recognizes it and will not be fooled by it in the slightest. Even if they don't say anything, they will still be wary of the person who tried this tactic. The Sigma man doesn't like being treated as a bargaining chip, nor does he appreciate flattery that's not sincere. If a compliment doesn't come from the heart and isn't meaningful in some way, it's just wasted words. 3. Bossing them around with unjustified rules. One thing that really bothers a Sigma man is being forced to follow unnecessary or useless rules. Their independent nature rebels against being micromanaged or controlled, especially when there's no valid reason for it. When faced with a situation like this, they will usually put up some resistance or simply walk away. When it comes to work, they prefer to have the space to work on their own terms and in their own way. Sigma males hate micromanagement. They know what they are doing and don't need to be constantly supervised. This creates an atmosphere of distrust and makes it difficult for them to be productive, not to mention the stress it causes. Controlling someone with unjustified rules is an attempt to make them conform and fit into someone else's vision. A Sigma will refuse to comply with this kind of authoritarian behavior, as he doesn't believe one person should dictate the life of another. 4. Being stuck in a boring conversation. Nothing is worse than being stuck in a boring conversation filled with pleasantries and small talk that doesn't mean anything. It's like being stuck in quicksand with no way out. This isn't just annoying or tedious, it's incredibly frustrating for a Sigma. These men have a low tolerance for mundane conversations and will often try to find some way of getting out of it as quickly as possible. They prefer deep conversations with like-minded people, as they can explore topics that interest them and learn something in the process. Boring conversations are counterproductive and a waste of time, which is why Sigma males hate them so much. When stuck in a situation like this, they feel trapped and often try to excuse themselves as soon as possible. Even if they are polite and can handle the situation with grace, their patience will soon run out. They may start to daydream or just zone out completely, waiting for a chance to finally escape. 5. Playing the victim card in front of them. Playing the victim card is a strategy often used to manipulate people into doing something they don't want to do. It's a form of emotional blackmail and doesn't sit well with Sigma men. They dislike it when someone uses this tactic in their presence, as they find it both dishonest and manipulative. This type of behavior is usually seen as desperate and cowardly, which isn't something Sigma males respect or admire. It's a sign of weakness, and they will often shy away from anyone who relies on this technique to get their way. Playing the victim won't help the situation in any meaningful way, and it will only paint the user in a negative light. Sigma men don't want to be around someone who is constantly looking for attention or pity, as they prefer to surround themselves with strong and independent people. They will always stand up for themselves, so playing the victim won't work in their presence. 6. Challenging them to prove their worth. Sigma males are the type to stay under the radar without attracting too much attention to themselves. They don't like proving something to someone else just because they were asked to. Although they may be highly capable of doing the task, it's not something they would take pleasure in. Sigma men prefer to show their worth through their actions rather than having to prove themselves when challenged. When this happens, they will usually try to find an alternative way of resolving it without making too much noise. They don't like being put on the spot and having to show what they are capable of in front of others. They are very private and don't need everyone's approval or acknowledgement to feel validated. They are already confident in who they are and what they can do without having to prove it to anyone else. If someone challenges them to prove their worth, they will calmly step aside and wait for the person to show what they are truly made of. 7. Forcing them into the spotlight. These guys prefer to stay on the sidelines and let others take center stage. It's not that they are shy or lack confidence, it's just not their style to be the center of attention. They are more likely to observe from the shadow or help others out behind the scenes. While they might be quite capable of captivating an audience, it really drains their batteries. They don't like being placed where they are expected to perform, as it feels like an obligation instead of a pleasure. Forcing a Sigma male into the spotlight is not only uncomfortable for him, it's also unnecessary. He is more than capable of making his presence known without having to be in the spotlight all the time. He prefers a low profile, but that doesn't mean he can't be a leader. He will still have a strong influence over others in his own special way without needing to be the show's star. Sigma males are more comfortable when they have a space to operate quietly and without drawing too much attention to themselves. 8. Criticizing them just to show off your authority. Criticizing someone solely to flaunt one's authority is not only unproductive, but also reflects poorly on the person making the criticism. Such behavior often stems from an insecurity-driven need to assert dominance rather than a genuine desire to provide constructive feedback. Sigma males believe that constructive criticism should be motivated by a genuine desire for improvement and growth rather than a display of dominance. Those who criticize simply to show off their authority will often be met with resistance, as most Sigmas won't respond positively to such behavior. They are fed up with those who constantly need to prove their worth by belittling or putting others down. While they may not directly challenge the criticizer, they often distance themselves from such people. Many Sigma men simply leave the company altogether if they feel that criticism is being used as a tool of control and dominance. This is just immature and unproductive, and Sigmas won't waste their time on it. 9. Beating around the bush. We all know that talking in circles can be extremely frustrating, and this is especially true for Sigma males. They don't like to waste their time on conversations where people beat around the bush and never get to the point. They prefer direct communication, as it's more efficient and leads to better results in the long run. If someone is dragging their feet when speaking, you can easily see the look of irritation on the Sigma man's face. He hates when people extend their speech just to sound smart or important. He wants practical conversations that lead to tangible actions and solutions. Why beat around the bush when you can get straight to the point? While some of us are doing this unconsciously, many do it hoping to impress someone else or cover up their lack of knowledge. While this may work with some people, Sigma males will immediately recognize this. 10. Interrupting them while they're speaking. While some may find interruptions a sign of enthusiasm and participation, Sigma men view them as disrespectful. Interrupting someone is seen as an act of aggression and rudeness, especially when the person hasn't even finished what they were saying. Everyone should be given the opportunity to express their opinion without being cut off or ignored. Sigma males don't talk all the time, so they usually prefer to listen and think before speaking. If they gather their thoughts to give their opinion, the last thing they want is to be interrupted. If someone interrupts them, they will take a few moments to process the situation before calmly responding. They may not get angry or lash out, but this doesn't mean they won't be annoyed. They might even withdraw from the conversation and distance themselves from those who consistently interrupt them. Such behavior is seen as a lack of respect, something that these guys don't tolerate. 11. Forcing him to expand his circle. Sigma males like to keep their circle small and tightly knit. They don't easily trust people, so they tend to be selective about who they spend their time with. This is why they may struggle to open up to everyone and let people into their inner circle. Expanding their circle of friends is not something they can do overnight. It takes time and effort. Trying to push Sigma into expanding his social circle too quickly will only backfire, as he values quality over quantity when it comes to friendships. Rushing this process could lead to disappointment if not done correctly. Forcing him to do this will also raise some questions in his mind about the motives of this rush, which could be perceived as suspicious. Sigma males prefer to take things slow and steady when building relationships, so they need time to reflect and get to know people. They need to feel safe and secure before opening up, something that cannot be rushed. 12. Being overly noisy and distracting. We've all been in those situations when someone nearby is making way too much noise and completely ruining the atmosphere. Whether it's at work, in a coffee shop, or even in your own home, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to focus while someone is constantly distracting you. Not only is it disrespectful, but it can also be incredibly damaging to productivity and mental well-being. Sigma males are usually quiet and reserved, so they don't like those who sound like a broken record or are excessively loud. It can be very distracting and annoying for them, as they prefer a more calm and peaceful environment. They are not antisocial, but they need to have a sense of peace and stability around them. They will get easily irritated and agitated if there is too much noise or chaos around them. Not only does it take away from their focus, but it also affects the quality of their work. While occasional noise and chaos can be manageable, too much of it will make them lose their patience.